So the author says the last sitting, the 13th integral, is to sit. Sit means to make your buttocks land. By consensus. What's the consensus here? The sitting, not the number. And what's meant here is sitting to end the prayer and not to stand. To sit and not stand for reciting the last tashahhud. Last tashahhud has to be performed from seated position. And the salat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has to be performed from a seated position. Nor the salam, it also has to be from a seated position. The salam which comes after it by consensus, after this sitting. This salam, yani here, which comes after it by consensus, refers to the salam. So we're saying sitting is a consensus, and salam is a consensus. And that salam is going to happen not before you sit by consensus. And I mentioned for you that if you have a lot of makeup prayers, you could take the saying of the Maliki school, which is that you're just going to sit and then sit long enough to say Assalamu alaikum and then say Assalamu alaikum to end your prayer. Then you can stand up and pray your next one. This will shorten it for you and help you get more prayers done. Also, you can not stop between the moves. Yani, you can continually do the positions of the prayer without pausing between them. That's valid in the Maliki school also. So this will help you get more prayers done. Yes. You said the main thing is reciting the Fatiha, right? But you're saying you can just continue the prayer without stopping? Your question is slightly unclear for me here. I didn't say anything about the Fatiha. So, if you want, you can repeat your question for me. I didn't say anything about the Fatiha, so I don't understand really what you are asking. You said, okay, so if you have missed prayer, how can you pray then quicker according to the Maliki school? You can say Allahu Akbar with your intention. Recite Al-Fatiha without reciting the Basmalah. Then bow and stand up and go down to sujood and sit up and go down to sujood without stopping, without pausing, without tumatnina. Yes. Do all the rakats of your prayer and sit to end your prayer and enough time to say Assalamu alaikum and then say Assalamu alaikum and this prayer is done. You're welcome. The author said that Tashahhud, the 14th integral, is an integral by extension of its spot. The 14th is an integral by extension of its spot. What is its spot? Sitting position. The sitting position is an integral. And this tashahhud follows that. It goes along with it, so it's an integral too. And it is obligatory by the authenticated directive. Directive means command to recite the tahiyyat, also named aka the tashahhud, named after its noblest aspect. This tahiyyat it has another name. It is named after its noblest aspect. So that name is the Tashahhud, for containing the two shahadas. That's why it's called Tashahhud. That command is obeyed by the confirmed minimum, meaning there are numerous renditions of this tahiyyat, aka tashahhud. So if you recite this minimum, then you will have obeyed the command. التحيات لله سلام عليك أيها النبي سلام عليك أيها النبي. You said, is the prayer still valid if we don't say tashahhud? According to Maliki school, it's not an integral in Maliki school. But we are really now teaching Shafi'i school. And we are saying it is an integral, and if you don't do it, your prayer is not valid. And I only digressed right there to talk about the Maliki school to benefit anyone who has a lot of prayers to make up, to give you a way to get more prayers done faster. التحيات لله سلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته سلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. So don't miss that hat there. وبركاته سلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمدا رسول الله. So that's the minimum. It says 5 sentences. So at-tahiyyatu lillah. The tahiyyat belong to Allah. Salamun alayka ayyuhan nabi. Peace be upon you, O Prophet. Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And the mercy of Allah and His blessing and His blessings. Salamun alayna. Peace be upon us. Wa ala ibadillahi as-salihin. And upon God's pious slaves. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. I testify that no one is God but Allah. Wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Any version is valid and sufficient for a perfect prayer, not makruh. Any version. Even if the narration itself is weaker than another, it's not a condition to use the narration that has the highest level of authenticity for a perfect prayer. Like the two sheikhs' narration of Ibn Mas'ud's report, meaning out of all the reported tashahhuds, this one is most authentic, chosen by Abu Hanifa and Ahmad. التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. So in the black here, you can see what's common from the minimum up there. At-tahiyyatu lillah, salamun. But there's a little N there. I hope you can see it. It's put lightly because you're not going to pronounce it here when you say assalamu. But if you take off that assalam and you just say salam, and you're going to say salamun, that's the minimum tashahhud there. Salamun alayka, salamun alayka ayyuhan nabi, wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And same thing here should be. Salamun alayna, assalamu alayna, وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمدا. But here there's a change, a difference. وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله. It's not valid without Muhammad. That's what some scholars said. That you can't just say وَأَنَّهُ عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. You need to say the name Muhammad. And Nawawi says that it is more authentic than Muslim's narration of Ibn Abbas's tashahhud. Yes, yani, like we just said, this one is the most authentic tashahhud in terms of narration. So it is more authentic than Muslim's narration, who narrated this one. The two sheikhs, who are the two sheikhs? Al-Bukhari and Muslim. So Muslim narrated this one too. And Al-Bukhari narrated it too. And the rule is that what's narrated by the two sheikhs together is more authentic than what's narrated by one of them alone. Here's a narration narrated by the two of them. And here's another one narrated by only one of them, which is Muslim. Radiallahu anhuma. And Nawawi says that is more authentic than Muslim's narration of Ibn Abbas's tashahhud, which happens to be superior though. Yani, they said, although in terms of narration, that one is more authentic, this one is better. It's worded better in more than one way, like in wording. For containing al-mubarakat, and it is Imam Ash-Shafi'i's choice. At-tahiyyatul mubarakat, as-salawatu tayyibatu lillah, assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabi, wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. ما شاء الله. So again, you can see where the extra is compared to the minimum. And what we said is the minimum ends with wa anna Muhammadar Rasulullah, not abduhu wa rasuluh. That's how this one ends. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. According to the Malikis, it is not obligatory, this tashahhud. It's not an integral. However, to say that it is indeed obligatory, yani if it were said, which is not this Maliki saying, to say that it is indeed obligatory necessarily means that sitting is also obligatory. we're saying that this dhikr and this sitting go hand in hand because all who mandate it, all of the scholars, the mujtahids, who deemed the tashahhud obligatory, they mandated from a seated position. So, and the sitting is obligatory. So the sitting is obligatory by consensus. That's what we set up here. That's how we started. To sit by consensus. And the salam comes after it by consensus. Malik's choice is the tashahhud that Umar taught to the people from the pulpit. At-tahiyyatu lillah, az-zakiyatu lillah, at-tayyibatu salawatu lillah. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. I want to do the same thing here. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. So, mashallah, there you have the tashahhuds for the four madhabs. And the one that has highest authenticity, the one that has superior wording, and also another one, and the minimum. Wallahu a'lam. We'll stop there. Do you have a question I can answer for you?
Shaykh,
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
So just so I understand the integral here, you said by consensus was the sitting, right? Across all four
Yes.
madhab? Okay. Because when we learned the Shafi school...
Even beyond four madhabs. Ijma'. Because just because four madhabs doesn't mean it's consensus.
Right. Okay. When we learned the Shafi school, they mentioned that the integral was the Tashahhud and the Salatul Ibrahimiyya. Is that
Salat
counted?
Ibrahimiyya. Tashahhud.
Yes. Right. Is that counted as part of the last sitting?
No, that's different from sitting.
Okay, because Imam Shafi breaks it down like those are separate integrals, correct?
They are separate. He counts them as integrals, though. They're separate. There's no doubt they're separate, but he counts them as integrals.
He counts them as integrals. But we just read that the integral is based on the sitting and not those specific recitations themselves.
The sitting and reciting any of those.
But in Maliki,
any one of them is valid.
But in Maliki, Maliki doesn't consider the recitation, only the sitting, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, the integral is based on the sitting or the recitation and the sitting?
So one saying is the sitting is an integral and reciting those words is an integral also. And another saying is the sitting is an integral and reciting those words is not an integral.
Got it. Okay, I understand. Barakallahu fiqh.
You please repeat about Imam Maliki school that one can pray without stopping. Yani, he doesn't have to do tuma'nina in Maliki school. Where are the positions of tuma'nina? Bow and have tuma'nina. Stand up, have tuma'nina. Make sujood, have tuma'nina. Sit up, have tuma'nina. Prostrate, have tuma'nina. So all those spots of tuma'nina, you don't have to do tuma'nina there in Maliki school. So you can just keep going through your prayer nonstop. He said, وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا, and then the rest of it with عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. Doesn't the Rasul part have to be included, but not the Abdu? So I think your question got answered. Let me know if you still have a question there. You said off-topic question. If a non-Muslim at work gives you a gift like a coffee mug or chocolate, can you accept? Yes, you can. I mean, it is during the week before Christmas. That doesn't mean it's Christmas gift though. Can you say thanks for the coffee cup and thanks for the chocolate? Yes, you can. Is your question answered, or do you want to follow up? You can follow up if you want to. I meant the one who's asking about the tashahhud. You say you feel like it's for Christmas, then don't accept it. But if you understood my question, then I mean my answer, then I didn't say you have to accept it. That's then it wasn't your question. Also, if you have to, you said what's the religious meaning of integral? The integral is the part of the deed without which the deed is invalid. The part of the deed without which the deed is invalid. Or if you want a piece of the deed without which the deed is invalid. A juzl. Somebody's reading the English definition of. Okay, so what you want to do here is remember that there are actually religious definitions. So that's why this is a good question then here. What's the religious meaning of integral? Uh, so originally, the religious terminology is from the Arabic, as you know. But who decide this terminology? The scholars. The scholars. Yeah, if you don't follow the scholars, you're going to be so ignorant. There's a difference between words that Allah revealed in the Quran and words that the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wassalam, words that came in the revelation, like salah and zakah and hajj and wudu and arsh and jannah and kursi. These words that came in the Quran and words that came in the Sunnah, that's one thing. And then also there's words that the scholars use, not necessarily from the Quran or the Sunnah. So who doesn't want to follow scholars is going to be a very ignorant person. So they say something. The Arabic word is rukin. Rukin. Rukin, I translated it as integral. And so this word integral, I'm not using English definition from some dictionary because I'm actually translating it from Arabic as a technical terminology, not even for its original Arabic meaning, but as a technical terminology. So rukin means, and I'm translating it as integral, and I could translate it other ways too. It means a piece of the deed without which the deed is invalid. So what we're talking about tonight is we're saying sitting to end the prayer is an integral of the prayer. It's a piece of the prayer without which the prayer is not valid. And we're saying we're learning Shafi'i school. That's a certain group of scholars there. According to them, the tashahhud is also an integral of the prayer. It's a piece of the prayer without which the prayer is not valid. Ameen wa fikum. We could use other words like instead of integral, we could say requisite. Requisite. Still going back though to the Arabic terminology, rukin. Terminology from the field that's called fiqh. Fiqh is the science of the detailed rules. Like how we're breaking this down, we're breaking it down to small particles here. You won't be able to do this breakdown without studying fiqh. That's a prophetic science. That's not something you're going to learn in college. Some worldly college, I mean. The Prophet came with a lot of knowledge. Alayhi salatu wassalam. You have to learn that from the scholars. You're not going to learn that in university. A worldly one, I mean. The kuffar have nothing superior to this knowledge. You said, can we say part of the prayer? Part? Uh, Well, I would say if you're going to teach this fiqh, uh, let's say at a certain level, then in another language too, if you're going to teach fiqh at a certain level in another language, I would say then you should have some words that are standard because the prayer has integrals and the prayer has, I'm translating here, components about, and the prayer has forms, hey at. So the word part here, I wouldn't use it for integral. Rather, I would use it in the definition of integral. I won't call the integral just a part only. I'll say integral, or I'll say requisite, and I'll define it for you. It's a part of the prayer, a part of the deed. Integral is not just for prayer, for anything, for fasting, for zakat, for hajj, for sales, for marriage. Integral is a part of the deed. Without it, the deed is invalid. But I'm not going to call it part only. Because prayer has other parts. So this part, the integral, is the part that without it, the prayer is invalid. There's other parts of the prayer, though, like the components of the prayer, the ab'al. Prayer is still valid without those parts, like the first tashahhud and like the kunut and fajr prayer. Those are parts of the prayer and significant ones too. So inshallah, that's a clear answer for you. Any question, inshallah? So when you learn, it's not a bad idea sometimes if you want to ask the teacher, this word you are using, where you got that word from? So if he's doing like I'm doing, then he's going to tell you, oh, this word, I mean rukin, integral, or I mean shart, condition, or I mean ba'd, component, or I mean hay'ah, form, or I mean something else. And then there's still, yani, not bad thing to look into the English definition. That's not a bad thing. Then when you know what the technical meaning's supposed to be in Arabic, and then you hear the English word, then you want to look in the dictionary and see how appropriate it is or how well it works. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.